video. Pretty excited about it.
Yeah, super excited.
I'm Nick.
I'm Justin.
And we're going to be playing a game between the Soulblight Gravelords, their new book, and the Bonesplitterz.
Bonesplitterz.
So I brought a Soulblight list that's definitely kind of on the fun side. I think there's more competitive builds in this book, but I wanted to put my ideal version of a vampire army onto the table right away and try that out. So we'll have the list in a minute, but it's Kastelai Dynasty. And what do you got, Justin?
I'm bringing Bonesplitterz Bonegrins. It's your classic, a lot of wounds, a lot of battalions, and we're going to bring a lot of big stabbers and throw them at some big vampires. So it should be fun.
Right on. Let's get into the list. All right, we'll walk through my list first. Like I said, Soulblight Gravelords, Kastelai Dynasty. Got 3 units of 5 Blood Knights as kind of the core of this list. They're really supported by Manfred and a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon as my general. Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon has the Fragment of the Keep artifact, which is going to give him a bubble of -1 to wound to melee attacks around him 6 inches. And he's also got the Rousing Commander trait, which is the one that allows him to juice up the vampires around him with the bonuses that they would get from Kastelai Dynasty a little bit early, so then they can start building those bonuses up. I've also got 1 unit 10 Direwolves as a screen and battle line unit, and then 2 units of Argeist, 1 6 and 1 3. They've got the vampire keywords, so they can benefit from all those things as well. I'm really excited to see how Manfred does on the table. I'm really excited about his new rules.
I'm hoping I can kill him. So my list is Bonesplitterz Bonegrins. So this is your classic no retreat. I'm going to put bodies into Nick, and he's not going to be able to move anywhere. I start out with 30 Savage Orcs. That's my bread and butter. Just a ton of wounds, 60 wounds. Then I base my list off 2 battalions. I have Tiefruck, which is the 3 units of 4 big stabbers, and my Savage Big Boss. And then I have Coprock, which is going to be my 4 Warlocks, and my 3 units of 10 Savage or more boys. What I'm trying to do here is put some buffs from each of the Warlocks, and the Warlocks, since I have 2 battalions, I'll be having 3 artifacts. Mr. Blue has Mark's Bony Bits, which will give him +1 to cast, and Cunning Beast Spirits. Red has the Mask, which is super effective in taking units off of mortal wounds, and Gorkamorphous Warcry. Green has just the Brutal Beast Spirits, and the pink has the glowing tattoos, which will change its after save to a 4-up, and the Breath of Gorkamorpha, which is going to be crucial for me to get units across. Super excited to see how the list plays. It's not necessarily a power list, but it's fun, and there's a lot of wounds. So
yeah, it'll be hard for me to get them off the table, but I'll get to see what the vampires can do, because I've got plenty of attacks to make. So.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck. I have 12 units, so 6 of my units will get to take a 5-inch pregame move.
Okay.
So I think,
Definitely both armies deployed aggressively.
yeah, it seems that way.
Kind of lined up on the line. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'll talk through my strategy as it occurs, but it's a winning strategy. I can tell you that right off the bat. Ideally, what I want to do is just tag with the big 30-man, string it back to my objective. I'm going to try to pump them as much as possible with the War Docs so that they have as good a save as possible. If I can pin, I'm hoping that, unless I'm missing something, if I can Blood Knights fly?
They do not.
Okay. When I can pin kind of behind the direwolves, I don't plan on killing much. I want to get up on this objective. Potentially pin on this end. Same here. I'm going to move up, potentially pin everywhere while scoring the objectives and giving support with my War Docs because Battle Shock is such a concern for the army. I kind of I'm going to keep my big stabbers relatively back to block off the back of the board, and in addition, they will kind of get to read the table and see where they need to be deployed when the time comes. So that's the strategy. To begin with, on a 3-up, this Warlock, and you need to check the range. I think it's within 12. He is going to try to give Mr. Blue +1 to cast on a 3-up. He will. He's +1 to cast. He is going to try to give Cunning Beast Spirit, or I'm sorry, +1 to save onto the big group of 30 on a 3-up. He will. They're +1 to save. He is going to attempt to get himself +1 to cast. He will not. I think that he's just outside. He will attempt to get himself +1 to cast. He will. So I have +1 to cast here. I have +1 to save, and another +1 to cast. Into my magic. The guy that is now +2 is going to try to cast Cunning. It's going to go on a 6 if I get doubles. It's good. So it's going to be 4 and dice. So it would technically go off twice.
Okay, so that is...
That's the +1 to save.
Okay. I will attempt to unbind with Manfred. It goes off.
Okay, so this does not have any effect with this at all.
Okay.
So they are now +2 to save.
Okay, that puts them on a 3.
And yeah, in melee they would be a 3-up.
Sure.
He is going to try to cast Mystic Shield on the guys in front of him. He's going to get on 8.
Okay.
He is going to attempt to cast Brutal Beast Spirits. It's going to be, I'm sorry, it's Breath of Orca Morka. This is a 6 on deck. Go down 7.
Okay, unbind with Manfred. Actually with the Vamp Lord. Yeah, unbound.
And Mr. Green over there will try to cast Brutal Beast Spirits.
This is your last cast.
Yep. He's going to get down.
Okay, Manfred will attempt to unbind.
Oh, it's on a 9. So.
Okay, good. So
into charges. Okay, so I get to add 2 to charge rolls because of my thumpas. Gotta have the right dice. So I'm gonna try a long bomb charge back here. I need a 9 to get just to the tip of that, so it'll be a 7 on dice.
On the charge, clearly just tagging in as much as you can, locking up one of my blocks of Blood Knights and the Dire Wolves, obviously.
Yep, and I realize that the Var guys can come in, but I feel like these guys are going to have to do kind of a roundabout way to get in.
Definitely and actually, interesting to see how you allocate your attacks here. I hope you can kill at least one of the Dire Wolves. Round one. How do you feel things went there?
Fine. I'm a little nervous about the counterattack with the zombie dragon, but I'll see where you kind of choose to go.
Definitely an interesting round, having to kill off one of my dire wolves in the middle to deliberately break coherency and try to free things up. Leaves me in a weird spot. It feels strange to do that to my own units, but I think it was the right call. Yeah,
I think you'll at least be able to get most of those guys in combat. How good are they when they're not in the charge?
They're not terribly good when they're not on the charge, unless I start popping command abilities, and then they start to become really good. Or pop my one-time use ability from the leader. So.
Well, you have one command punch, you'll be doing a lot of command abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, do your worst.
Bottom of 1. Manfred is going to cast Fading Vigor on the big block, which is -1 to attacks. There are 2 attacks each, right? Yeah. Okay. Going off on a 9.
This guy, who's +2 to Unbind right now, I think he's within 30 level.
This is this guy right here.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it matters. He is going to attempt to Unbind. He's going to need an 8 on dice. He's going to Unbind.
Okay. And then Manfred, this Wardock is going to cast his War Scroll spell, which is a nuke spell. On the Wardock, going off with a 9.
He is +1 to cast, or +1 to cast Unbind, so he's going to need a 9 on dice to Unbind. Yep.
Okay. So he takes one mortal wound, and then if it's not negated, I roll, and on a 4 up he takes another mortal wound, and if it's not negated, he takes another mortal wound.
6 up. Nope.
Okay. So on a 4 up, nope, just the 1. Vampire Lord on. Actually, I think I might have botched that. That might be the Zombie Dragon spell. Yes, that was the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon spell. Do you mind that?
Nope.
Just do them auto order.
That's
all right. Now Manfred's spell is going to be target a unit, and then each enemy unit within 6 inches of that can take D3 mortal wounds. So he's going to do it on the big block.
Yep.
Going off on a 7.
This guy who's not plus anything to Unbind will attempt to Unbind. So it's
Blocked it.
still counts.
Okay. Goes off.
Worst.
So it's that unit and every enemy unit within 6 inches on a 3 up takes D3 mortal wounds. That is my casting. Manfred is going to use his command ability. So I'm going to go from 1 command ability to, or 1 command point to 0 command points. And so his command ability is a 12-inch aura of +1 hit, +1 wound. And then I'll get into movement.
Let's do it.
Alright, here we are at end of movement phase. I do have 1 shooting attack to do with the zombie dragon, but probably not going to get a lot done with it. Wasn't able to move him into the center like I wanted, but Manfred's out there, so he's going to try to get into a Wardock. Brought in my spare units that were hiding in the keep, and I'm just going to try to fight my way out of this situation with the Blood Knights. Probably going to have to pop my 1-time per combat ability here and see what we can do. So I will go into shooting. clutch charge there. My Vampire Lord didn't get himself in, but that's all right. We're going to pop things off anyway and see what we can get done. I do like that Manfred's going to get his chance to shine with the Vargeist being supported, and then my Vamp Lord is going to get to shine as well, even though it's in a supporting role. So let's see what we can do here. Start a combat phase. Once per battle, his ability, 12-inch Holy Within. Vampires get +1 damage and +1 wounds characteristic.
Sure.
Try to fight my way out of that. So overall, I feel like it was a pretty good turn for me. The output from the Vargeist was fantastic. I used the command ability for Manfred, and in hindsight, I didn't really know what kind of output to expect, and I think it was overkill to use the command point. I don't know whether it was worth it to use the one-time ability from the Vampire Lord to juice up the damage there, although I did get some more boys killed out of it. So I think overall, relatively successful turn. I was able to clear out more than I really expected. How do you feel about the first round?
You did a particular amount of damage. I'm a little nervous about a double. Because that group of Blood Knights is now free. Your zombie dragon's in good position to be free. So overall, I'm a little concerned. But with this army, it does feel like you're constantly just hanging around. And if I get the turn, I don't necessarily mind the position I'm in as far as trying to get my big stabbers into the game.
Sure. All right, should we roll for priority? I got a 4. I will take the turn.
Sure.
So we'll go into top of 2, and it's going to be Soulblight. So you get a command point. All right, Soulblight, top of round 2. I'm going to start off with some casting. Manfred's going to use his War Scroll spell. This is the area effect. Going off on a 10.
I'm going to try to unbind everything that it is +2.
Sure.
We'll need 9 of it.
Okay. Then Manfred's going to cast the -1 attack spell. It's on a 9. Fading Vigor.
What spells do you have?
The Vampire Lord has his lore spell, which is +6 movement. Okay.
There.
So Fading Vigor on a 9 first.
He will try to unbind it.
Okay. He's actually going to do it on that unit of big stabbers right there.
Sure.
So
How much does it have to be with him? 18?
8.
Yeah.
Okay. Not holy. And then the Vampire Lord over here is going to attempt Amethystine Pinions. Going off on a 7.
You're good. I don't have any other binds left.
Okay, so +6 movement for him. Moving into the... well, I'm not going to spend the command point this turn, so I am going to be at 1 command point, which is correct. So I was definitely hoping for more output in that turn. My Blood Knights completely whiffed on the charge into the big block. You didn't even have to make a lot of saves on them. Manfred whiffed on his important attacks, and then I spiked 4 sixes on the Spectral Claws for 4 mortal wounds. That really made a big difference in terms of what you could bring into him. So that was really big, getting off one of those units of big Stabas. I was hoping for more from both of the units of Vargeist, but overall, pretty happy with where I'm sitting here. Still control this objective, still control that objective, but I moved leaders off both of them. Failing that 3-inch charge with the zombie dragon, really felt that one. It would have been nice to bring him in and get some damage out of that, but such is life. Overall, looking decent. I score another 2.
So, if I'm going to comment, I'm super happy. That turn could have been far worse for me. You're not getting the zombie dragon in, the fact that I'm still scoring even my home objective, and that I have some possible retreats here to get some sneaky little scoring done. I'm not upset. So into my turn, get another command point.
Yep.
I got it already. This is the guy with the cunning beast spirits. He is going to roll to try to get him +1, so it will be on a 3. I'm sorry, he's going to try to heal D3 wounds on himself on a 3-up.
Okay.
Nope. He is going to attempt to get himself +1 to cast. He will. So this is just +1, and that's the guy that does that. Casting spells. The Gorkamorka is fully within 24. I'm going to roll it. This has got to go off on 5. So I'm going to get it on an 11.
Okay, how many spells do you have left?
Just 1.
Okay, I'll attempt to unbind with the zombie dragon. I got an 11, so it goes off.
I'm going to put it on these guys.
Okay.
That will just double their move characteristic and give them fly.
Okay.
And then this guy who has Cunning Beast Spirits, let me check the range. This is another wholly within 24. Roll it. This will need to be a 5 on dice because he has +1 from his Mark's Bony Bits. So it's going to go off on a 10.
Attempt to unbind with Manfred. Goes off.
Nice, let me check. He's going to put it back on this unit. They are only going to be +1 save though. So that will be my...
So they're on a 5-up now or 4-up?
4-up. That will be my hero phase into movement.
So that was a really big bottom of round 2. The big stabbers came in. You got the speed buff on them, so they came in and just demolished the zombie dragon with like 25 damage. So the zombie dragon was definitely very underwhelming with his inability to get into combat.
If he makes that charge, it's a whole different story.
He does quite a bit of damage, yeah. But overall, I think it's still relatively close. You've got a nice lead on victory points right now, 11-7.
I feel like this priority roll is gigantic. If I win it, I feel. I mean, it's obviously not over, but
it makes it very tough sledding for me. Yeah. Got a 4. I will keep it. So I'll be taking the turn into the top of 3. Alright, Manfred is my caster. I'm up to 1 command point. I need to do a lot of good stuff here. I am going to use his command ability in the hero phase.
So what does that do again?
+1 hit, +1 wound, 12 inch fully within bubble. So I'll start casting. Manfred's got his War Scroll spell, which is the area of effect nuke, going off on an 8.
My guy, that's +1 to unbind, which is that guy right there. He will try. He needs an 8 on dice.
Yeah. Okay. And then Fading Vigor. That fails. Alright, so then that's hero phase. Gonna go on to movement. Really successful turn there in the bottom, or in the top of round 3. Everything that I needed to have happened. The command ability from Manfred, having that 12-inch bubble of +1 to hit, +1 to wound. It's really one of the strongest command abilities in the game right now. And it did a lot of work. He was able to come in and completely wipe the big Stabbas, took a little bit of damage back. Blood Knights did work. Bargeist over here did work. Had some full-on trade over there in that fight, but really turned the tides there in the top 3. Being able to get that priority roll, I think, was really pivotal.
I just passed the battle shock that I owed here.
Sure.
So yeah, things are looking bleak. I don't really have any ability to go around the board and score anymore. But I'm gonna try to kill that. And then maybe get the double, and I don't know. Let's just call it. It's too late to play it out.
Good game. So
Yeah, I think if I can get the double last turn, I can score. I'll probably even get the big Stabbas onto your back objective while still getting into the Blood Knights. And then I think it's kind of game on.
Yeah, I think that would give you enough of a victory point lead. You know, being able to score kind of 7 points there or so in that round. That probably would have given you enough victory points that I couldn't come back even if I win the fight from there. Really impressed with what Manfred did. You had the spell to double the movement and then auto-run 6 on the big Stabbas. But if you hadn't had that, he was effectively just bottling up everything back there. And then if you went into him, he was just going to hop away. So that ability on him is really, really strong. Obviously, you don't have the shooting and magic damage to really take him off the board. So I get to pick the engagements with him. But he really performed well. Poor showing by the Blood Knights just because that's really what your army's built to do, right?
Yeah.
You tied them up. When I did bring in the unit to charge because I needed to clear off bodies, he just kind of whiffed. So overall, not a great showing by him.
I was pretty impressed with the Bargeist, though.
Oh,
I thought they overperformed.
I think they did, especially on that first turn when I brought in the 6 of them, and they did more than 20 damage. I think your Morboys wiped that unit, so that was really, really nice. Them having the vampire keyword is really big in Kastelai. Even just that unit of 3, I mean, they got lucky on the charge, but them getting the 3 damage per attack made them a killing machine for the rest of the game. But good game. Interesting to play the Soulblight Gravelords. I really like this style of Vampire list. I love that everything in my army feels fairly elite. Even the Direwolves feel a little bit elite when they get juiced up. And they certainly feel a lot more elite than like a Skeleton or Zombie would. So I like that. And the Blood Knights in most matchups, and especially once they clear up exactly how their normal move in combat ability works, I think if that turns into
not a retreat,
right? If that turns into effectively retreat and charge with some mortal wounds on it, then they're just going to be a powerhouse because once they get to a hero and kill it in Kastelai, which that ability will let them do, then they're +1 damage, so they're 2 damage or 3 damage on the charge. They can turn into a blender really quick, depending on how that ruling goes.
Yeah, there will be especially strong. I mean, maybe crazy strong if that's
potentially. I mean, there's some real potential
because they're going to be doing mortal wounds on the move over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll be charging.
And some lists will just not effectively be able to screen them then because you need to screen them with something that's got at least 3 wounds.
Yeah, they're beastly.
Certainly a lot of things I forgot with the first time playing the army. Forgot to use my grave sites as well as I should have. Keeping track of the 12-inch Holy Within bubbles is definitely tricky.
Yeah, I'm rusty with the Bonesplitterz too. I just had to look up too many rules because I'm they've been put away for a while.
Yeah, we've both been grinding other armies, so.
I still like the Bonesplitterz. I don't know if they are the right power level right now, just because everything else, the wound density used to be like good enough to keep them on the board, but it seems like generally attacks and damage have gone up in the game, so that they just don't stay around very long, even with a lot of wounds.
I'm eager. I've got some pre-orders in for some of the other elements of the Soulblight Gravelords. I'm eager to try out the Kastelai Dynasty, and bring in some of the really powerful combos that come when you start pairing up Grave Guard with some of the buffs they can get and things like that. So, looking forward to some more experimentation with this army. I'm glad that they moved on from Legions into Gash and starting to flesh out this army a little bit.
Right.
Such an old book before, and now it's certainly got some legs, I think. I don't think it's going to be top tier. I don't think it's going to be, one of the big three, but I think there's some legs.
Yeah, and if the book was truly built for 3rd edition, and we don't know what that means yet, and what that will mean for the armies that are on top, especially with Croak potentially going up in points, and it'll probably just get better.
Yeah.
But, no, I think I was surprised. I thought of this as being more of a fun list, but with the Zombie Dragon especially failing that charge, where he never really got in, I think if he gets in, that unit of 30 I had in the middle would have been in a lot of trouble.
With the amount that I got out of that Zombie Dragon, that's probably the worst way I could spend 430 points on the list, right?
That's rough.
But his command ability was strong. I mean, any hero could have done that, but his command ability was pretty strong to get some punch through in the first round, and he did some.
You know what's underrated about this army is just the threat of backboarding and teleporting. Usually I would like to kind of stack up the Stabas behind the behind my line, so that they can kind of, like when you come in, you're inadvertently bringing in the other guys with the 3-inch reach.
Sure.
But the fact that I have to defend the backboard, and I'm not about to alpha them in or anything like that, it does mean, maybe I could have done a better job of screening off the back of the board with some of my more meaningless stuff, but I need those bodies to get objectives too, so.
If this really is the first 3rd edition book, I think we can expect much more deep striking and teleporting to come down the line, because there are a lot of ways to make it happen in this book. Between the grave sites for any summonable unit, Vargeist and Blood Knights, Vargeist having on the War Scroll, Blood Knights getting in Kastelai, Manfred's incredible teleporting ability. I think if this is the shape of things to come, there's going to be a lot of that.
Does teleporting just get worse, though, because of a smaller board?
Yes, and that's something I'm acutely aware of with KO, but the deep striking doesn't get a lot worse.
It doesn't, but it's easier to screen if you're on a smaller board.
The deployment zones get a lot tighter.
Yeah.
The board space in the middle doesn't change, but the deployment zones get a lot tighter, so it's a lot easier to screen those for sure.
Although it does also make it more difficult to, push up a line that keeps your whatever you want behind it protected.
Sure.
So
I think the biggest thing to really affect that is going to be if there's any changes to how objectives are scored in 3rd edition. Right now, there's such a huge benefit to teleporting onto an objective, claiming it, and scoring the points. If it changes in 3rd edition to look more like the 40k rules, where you need to hold that objective until the start of your next turn, then that becomes a lot less valuable, and that means that you don't need to screen nearly as heavily. But good
fun game, yeah.
Interesting matchup.
All right, well, thanks everyone for joining us today.
Yeah, we'd love to hear about what you thought about our first battle report. Feel free to leave a comment. Let us know
Point
what
out
we're
the
screwing up.
mistakes.
Yes, in the game and in the
If
podcast
you can tell me
itself.
where Nick cheated as well. I would
Yes.
appreciate that.
I would love to have any of my mistakes pointed out. I'm sure there were a ton of them. You can tell me all the times I forgot to make hooves and teeth attacks with the Blood Knights. There were plenty of those. All right. Thanks, everybody.